Welcome to Fast Talk, the podcast where we talk about grassroots motorsport. I'm David, and joining me in this new but not so new studio is Simon and Stumpy. Say hi, boys.
Hello.
Hey guys, how you doing? Now, I don't know if you guys know, but in Victoria alone in 2023, there was over 30,000 entrants in motorsport across Victoria.
Wow.
And at least half of those were in entry-level categories.
Yeah, spot on. And the thing with that too is that that's just the entrance. That's not including like your pit crews, marshals, spectators, catering. The list goes on. That's just drivers alone.
That's huge.
It's massive.
It's huge.
Absolutely massive.
Yeah, and that makes sense because I found out that how much do you reckon was made from Victoria, in Victoria alone, Victorian motorsport?
It couldn't be much. I stabbed and dug a couple of hundred million, maybe. Max.
700 million.
No way.
$700 million just in Victoria for the year for 2024. That's huge.
That is massive.
And about half of that, grassroots.
So that's
It's not the Formula One Grand Prix. That's not coming from the Grand Prix and the MotoGP.
Wow.
Most of it's coming from grassroots and state categories.
Because that's where my brain would go. I'd be thinking, okay, Formula One, yeah, okay, MotoGP, throw supercars in there,
Yep.
and I'd be thinking that's going to take at least 3/4 of what the revenue is going to look like.
No,
There you have it.
huge. So grassroots motorsport is all about you get a car, you strip it out, you put a seat in it,
Yep.
and you take it to your local track and go, hey, I'm going to try it. I'm going to hire a trailer or
Maybe steel.
don't do that.
That-
But yes, and eventually you get the bug and say goodbye to your weekends.
And your bank account.
Yeah. Say goodbye to bank again.
So that's the point of Fast Talk, is that we actually want to be talking about and promoting grassroots motorsport across Victoria, and then hopefully become that hub where people can have the discussions and bring the conversations from the paddock, whether it's topics and conversations around controversy that might be going with Motorsport Australia potentially.
We have no problem in saying what we feel because we're not beholden to anybody. We have no filter. That's what
That's
thing says.
the thing at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No filter.
Yeah. No responsibilities.
No,
No accountabilities.
no accountability. That's better.
Yeah.
And welcome to our very first show.
So who are we?
What are we?
I'm David. I am an ex-mechanic. I have raced hill climb. I have, been playing around with sports bikes and pretty much anything that's fast and puts a grin on my head. At the moment, some of you may not like what I do, but I'm a pretend race car driver. I'm a part-time pretend race car driver. How's that? Does that make sense?
I think you need to fill in on this.
All right,
Yeah.
so I race sim. I'm a sim racer. So on a computer, on a pretend race car. Yeah. I'm not going to go too much into that right now, but there's a little bit of we will talk about that down the line.
And I think it's fair because it is becoming a legitimate pathway into motorsport for some people. And we're talking about that accessibility.
We don't talk about it too much.
It's not the focus of what we're really about.
No. This is not about sim racing at all.
No.
We might talk about it once or twice. No. And I think we've talked about it way too much even now. All right, so who are you?
My name is Simon, and I'm probably coming at this from a completely different angle to you guys because I didn't grow up in motorsport. My introduction to motorsport was pretty much watching Bathurst once a year, and that was it. And so it probably wasn't until my, I might say, 40s that I really started hanging out with you two idiots and really discovered more about grassroots motorsport. And I can think, look, until that point, I was probably like a lot of people. I thought motorsport was about having deep pockets. But the emergence to me of grassroots motorsport is insane. For me to understand the number of different categories, number of different race events going on any given weekend is extraordinary.
Huge.
You can't keep up with it.
That's only if you just want to stick with just bitumen racing.
Yeah.
Then you go to the dirt. Then you go on a lake. Then
Absolutely.
You go lawnmower racing. You whatever.
Yep. And then you've got kids as well as old blokes and like us, all out there having a crack. You're old.
Not
Don't
that
worry
old.
about it. You are old, mate. But that is the point, isn't it? Like, it's just there is so much going on, and nobody's talking about these people.
Well, it needs promotion.
100%.
And that's what we're for. That's what this show is for. We want to promote what is going on in our area,
Yep.
like around here, but also like statewide, Australia-wide, if we can get there. Like, we want to talk about what's happening, because the reality is there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about it. People are promoting, but some of the promotions, I understand it's probably budget, but some of it's just very low. And I mean, we're on YouTube. This is on YouTube now. You know, we will also be on podcast,
Correct.
on Spotify and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's not that hard to get this kind of stuff out. I guess it's time.
I think it's time. I mean, I think part of some of the learnings that we're having is that we're starting to realise, some of the constraints that I think promoters have for some of these events as well, and then how that actually drives up some of the costs, and then it becomes bigger than it can be for some of these promoters. But hopefully, shows like ours can then be another way of introducing this to people in the motorsport industry and community and beyond, to be able to actually get more people to this sport.
Yep. I think we'll stop there, because this is meant to be an intro, and
Going on.
we already pissed people off
Yeah.
straight away. I guarantee you I've pissed someone off already.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
You're good at it.
Yeah, I am.
You're a knack for it.
Thanks, mate. Oh yeah, Stubby's here.
Yeah, hi. How you going?
Sorry, buddy.
Nah, you're not.
So with each show, what we want to do is we're going to start off with some news. So
Yep.
we're going to be looking at some of the local news around some of the events that have taken place. But more importantly, we want to be talking about what's coming up, so that people can get out there and actually start supporting some of these events.
Yeah.
And Craig over there, he's doing some welding right now. So
That's all right.
he's getting ready for one.
So this being a motorsport program, we do have to talk about the big boys. I mean, I want to talk with Grassroots, and that's what we want to stick with. But we got to talk the big boys, your Formula Ones, your MotoGPs, your supercars. So we'll talk about those.
Yep.
And that's it.
That's it. Done.
Yeah, done.
Okay. I mean, the reality is, and I think we've kind of said this a little bit already, is that everyone, and there's so many F1 shows and Drives to Survive and supercars, and that's great, and we love that.
Is
but
it? Is it? Is it?
David.
Is it?
yeah, but yeah.
I want to see a real Drive to Survive where they don't fluff it up, and it's just what it is.
Just no Hollywood.
No Hollywood.
No
Don't.
Hollywood.
I don't care about people slamming doors.
I reckon there's a Drive to Survive in every paddock, mate. Our job's to find it.
100%. 100%. We can talk about,
The show would be Morse code.
Hey?
It'd be Morse code if you want to make it family friendly. What are they actually gonna hear them say?
Well, they'd say,
Yeah. Yeah.
2024 was a massive year for motorsport, especially in Victoria. Dean Amos went back-to-back in his Gould thing for the Australian. It's like a open-wheeled, McLaren-engineered,
Okay.
crazy monster. You see that thing at Bryant Park? Like 200 k's over the back straight.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's awesome to watch.
All right. I'm up for it.
Yep.
Mike Barker won the Victorian Hill Climb Championship in his orange fire breathing open wheeled monster.
Stephen Howard won his seventh championship in the 2-litre sports sedan championship as well.
That's huge.
Massive.
Jared Tonks won the Improved Production Championship
Yep.
in his VY Commodore. Pretty cool.
Not bad.
And in the under 2-litre class, Brett Porter won the state title last year, and it was his debut season. So a sensational effort there.
Corey McMahon,
Yep.
number 153, won the Victorian Off-Road Championship. Josh Waters won the ASBK Championship on his Ducati Panigale. Panigale.
Bike. Not to take away from his efforts, though.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, bikes.
Bikes.
This guy. So round one of the Victorian State Racing Championships, is going to be on the 14th to the 16th of February at Sandown. So this is going to be run by the MG Car Club of Victoria, and they've got a whole range of different categories. So it's going to include the sports sedans, sports cars, saloon cars, historical touring cars, and then they even going to have some of the Formula Fords, Formula Vs, which we got a bit of interest in as well. But it goes on and on. So that's definitely one to check out.
15th of Feb at Rosedale, they have the ladies' standard saloons, the mini and lightning sprints, that's the Australian title of that, junior standard saloons, which is the Vic title.
Yeah, right.
Division 2 hot rods, and heaps of other stuff. Tickets are $25 to get in, and kids under 12, free.
Sounds like a family event to me. Family event.
Family.
Yes.
Take the kids, get them sprayed with mud. It's awesome. Great.
Then mum can yell at them.
Yeah. That's mum's problem. Second round of the Victorian Hill Climb Championship is on Bryant Park, February 22nd. Running an anti-clockwise figure of 8. Spectators, free entry. Check out the website to find out exactly when and where it is on.
Perfect.
Do it.
Do it. And it's free.
Go do it. Now, if you own an Alpha...
We're very sorry.
Oh, so sorry. But if it's running and it's not too much oil on the ground and it doesn't rattle too much and bits are still kind of where they should be, there is an event at Sandown. It is the AROCA Victorian Super Sprint round. It's the first round of the year. It is at Sandown.
Yep.
22nd of February. It's a great event run by the Alfa Romeo Car Club of Victoria.
Perfect.
All the people are annoyed because their cars don't run. Just kidding. I love Alphas. I'd have one, but I don't have that much spare time.
But they're a beautiful car. They're a pretty car.
Oh, they're very pretty.
They're very pretty.
They're pretty.
They're pretty.
Lucky they're pretty. That's why they sit there.
Yeah.
They just sit there and look pretty.
Just look good.
Just like me.
It's in the corner.
Just like me.
Yeah. No.
The 45th George Woods Rally is on the first day of March at the Powelltown Recreational Reserve. Entry-level event called a Special Stage Rally, regularly run by the Historic Rally Association. Times allowed on competitive sections are limited to a maximum average of 70 kilometres an hour, and crews must not exceed 110 kilometres an hour at any time. Round 2 of the 2025 Pro Rally Standard Car Class Championship. Round 1 of the 2025 HRA Rally Championship. Check out the HRA website for details for this unique rally, including where to spectate.
All right. And now for the big one, and even I have heard of this one, but the Phillip Island Classic is going to be on, and this is the biggest event, historic event, I should say, in the Southern Hemisphere. So it's massive. So it's going to be on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of March, run by the Victorian Historic Racing, of course. Over 400 historic cars are going to be at the track. We've got Group A's, Group C's, Formula 5000s, historic F1s.
Yeah.
Be pretty amazing. All right, we've got Le Mans Group C cars, Formula Ford, Formula Holden, historic Group N, historic Formula V, and you get all of that. Everything, all of that, $30. $30 is a ticket.
That's insane.
Yep.
$30.
$30.
$30.
That's for Saturday and Sunday, and $40 each. So
That's it. I'm going.
Weekend pass, $100.
$100.
$100.
Laughing.
So get amongst
all
it.
that racing, all those cars, get to see cool shit.
Cool shit.
Cool shit.
Cool shit. You like cool shit?
I like cool shit.
But the point is that this is one of the biggest historic events in the Southern Hemisphere, in your backyard. Cheap and accessible.
Plus, if you like dirt, Saturday the 22nd of March, Bairnsdale Speedway is where you want to be. Racing starts at 5:30. Some of the classes include Division 2 hot rods, open and junior standard saloons, and the feature event, Victorian sports sedans, with a 50-lap feature race.
Now, because there's so much going on with Motorsport Australia, if there's any events that we've missed out on, please let us know so we can certainly not only promote some of these fantastic achievements, but also get out to some of these events as well.
So, we need to talk about SpeedCraft.
Yes, we do.
Who?
Okay,
I'm joking.
SpeedCraft
Yes.
are a locally owned and locally run business that supply all grassroots motorsport of all their stuff, like race gear, like harnesses, helmets, everything. They make stuff, so they make roll cages and they make pretty much anything. The stuff that I've seen come out of this workshop is stupid. in a good way.
Stupid good.
Stupid good.
Stupid good.
Their motto is buy races for races. So they, if you go off and go, oh, yeah, I want blah, blah, whatever it is. Like, whatever you want, these guys can supply. Or they know someone and it's going to be a good price.
Yep. And especially at a grassroots level as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave us the idea to do all this.
Yeah, it was their idea for this show to sort of help promote grassroots motorsports. The thing is that they want to grow the sport just as much as we do.
I mean, the reality is that as much as we want to be weekend warriors and so forth, it's people like SpeedCraft that allows this to happen. And we need that expertise, and that's what makes it all work.
100%. These guys are the one-stop shop. They can get you pretty much everything you need to go racing.
Yeah. So legally or in a dodgy sense?
Like the little El Paso girl. Can't it be both?
It's true. Why not both? But seriously, SpeedCraft are the guys you want to talk to for all your gear.
100. Do it.
Buy races for races.
I like that.
Situated in the sprawling housing developments of Melbourne, located in the suburb of Springvale, sits the Sandown Raceway. An iconic and sometimes overlooked racetrack, it is the home of horsepower. It is also one of Australia's oldest permanent motor racing facilities. Originally named Oakley Park, Sandown Park hosted Australia's very first car race on March the 12th, 1904. This race was won by James Crook in a 4.5 horsepower Locomobile steam-powered car. The Sandown race circuit surrounds a horse racing track that is 50 years older than the racetrack itself. The first bitumen race meeting, held on the 11th of March 1962, featured the Sandown International Cup, which was contested by world-famous international drivers including Jack Brabham, Jim Clark, Sterling Moss, Bruce McLaren and John Surtees. 1984 saw an extension of the track to 3.87 kilometres to comply with FIA regulations for minimum track length for World Championship events. Along with the circuit changes, some $600,000 Australian dollars had been spent relocating the pits from its original place between what was turns 1 and 2, now turns 1 and 4, to its now permanent place along the main straight. Unfortunately, the pit exit is on the racing line, which makes rejoining the track very interesting. Sandown has two big straights, each of them in the vicinity of 900 metres long. Sandown has held the Australian Grand Prix 6 times, with only 4 different winners: Sir Jack Brabham, Jim Clark, John Goss and Graham McRae, a New Zealander who won it 3 separate times. Unfortunately, the long-term future of this iconic circuit is under threat, as some people want Sandown to be rezoned and sold off to be yet another high-density housing area. And wouldn't that be a waste of such a historic landmark? Long live Sandown. So we know what we're doing. We know what we want to do.
What kind of?
Well, yeah, we've got a fair idea on what we want to do for this show, for everything we're going to do here.
Yeah.
I want to go out to events. I want to meet people. I want to talk to them. I want to interview them. I want to get your race team.
Yep.
Even if it's only a mum and dad team.
Correct.
I want to get you on this show. I want to get everybody out there in grassroots motorsport. I want to get you promoted. I want to promote the crap out of this.
Yep. Yeah, because as much as it's great being here in the studio that we've got here, it's the weekend being on the track. That's the stories. That's where the conversation is at, and that's the whole point of being able to do this, isn't it?
Yep.
So one of the segments that we are going to be doing is personally my favourite, and we're going to call it Talk.
Really?
Yeah. Because we're going to talk about talk, and it's going to be a lot of talky talk.
One of the things we need to talk about is the promotion that does or doesn't happen in the sport. One of the things that we are noticing, or have noticed, even in the very, very small time that we've started looking at grassroots motorsport, is Now, either due to budget constraints or being that there's no one to do the job, because we know building any sort of media takes time.
Absolutely.
Is that the problem with grassroots motorsports? Because the Australian Hill Climb final round, it was huge, heaps of people around.
Yep.
And I only found out because there was an A3 style poster on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Like that was the promotion.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, I saw it, but it's only because I knew what I was looking at and what I was trying to find that I saw it and noticed it.
It's hard to make a judgment on these things, like unless you know what people's budgets are for promoting these events. And let's be honest, that probably the promotion part of it isn't necessarily the main focus of the event. Like, you know, when you think about all the other things that need to go into making an event happen and putting, you know, the safety in place and just catering and so on like that, I think the promotion potentially becomes the afterthought at times. But, you know, it's a good question. I mean, what is the budget? Do people actively go about creating some marketing campaigns for these things? Yeah, that's a good question to have.
I don't want to be the guy who points the finger and go, you need to do your job better.
Oh, for sure.
Which I don't want to.
No.
And that's kind of our job now.
Well,
It's kind of the job we're taking on.
Yeah, it's what we want. I mean, you drive down the highway and you see that. Well, you saw that and you went to that event. But, you know, what's the impact of that? We don't know. But, I mean, not everyone can afford to do it. We love doing this sort of thing. And that's kind of where, you know, it can support some of these you know, events to actually get a little bit more traction and getting more people to those events themselves. But, yeah, look, it's catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things to sort of point. I don't want to point the finger.
No.
But the reality is that a lot of these events are going on, and there's no one at them. Like they do have catering. They have hot dog vans, and they have coffee vans, and they have all that kind of stuff. But there's no one there.
Is it that there's no one there, or is it more the fact though that you've got you actually want to see different people coming to these events?
I want spectators.
Because what I see when I walk through the paddock is I see a lot of people who know each other. There's families there. They're having a great time, and it becomes really quite insular in terms of that community of racing.
That's great,
and I love that.
Yeah.
But how do you get people from outside that world to actually go, oh, there's actually a race event literally just right there, 5 minutes from my house.
I know people who live around, literally at the end of the road where Bryant Park is.
Yep.
And they don't even know what goes on. They just know there's a lot of cars there.
No. That's
of
right.
a weekend. They don't know that the event's on.
Yep. Or that potentially it's free.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think the opportunity is for certainly grassroots motorsport, is that we want to be able to open up that space to people that, you know, similar to like me, who didn't grow up in this world, that have an interest in motorsport, but don't realise, hey, it's just literally happening all around you, and it's accessible to go even as a spectator. That might potentially lead to something else.
Well, a good example is Druin Speedway.
Yep.
We didn't. I moved to Warragul.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Druin had a speedway.
Yeah.
I knew growing up in Traralgon.
Yes.
I knew Rosedale had a speedway.
Yep.
I knew Bairnsdale had a speedway.
Yep.
I never even knew that Druin had a speedway.
Yep.
We went there. We had an absolute
It's amazing.
ball. It was one of the best events I've been to in a very long time.
And not only was the event great, but the people were great. Like, they were so generous to us. They, you know, we were there filming for something else, and they just opened arms. And, you know, people gave us a bit of an odd look at first, but then as soon as they realised what we were there to do, they were so happy to have a chat, share their stories, but even open up their cars and even, you know, offer to give us a ride on the parade.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know that's not experience for everyone, but I mean, my family lives, you know, just around the corner. They hear the cars, never bang.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's happening.
With that, we want to extend our services. In the calendar we read out every show. If we miss an event, tell us.
Absolutely.
Get in contact with us. We're on socials.
Yep, correct.
Make sure you leave a comment and go, hey, this.
For sure.
We will happily get people advised of exactly what's going on.
Yep.
Everything from hovercrafts to burnout contests to whatever.
Could be
Anything
go-karting.
to do with motorsports. Go-karting. Everything that's got to do with motorsports, let us know.
Yeah.
Because there are so many calendars to go through. Like you've got the Motorsport Australia calendar, you've got the Speedway calendar. There's two Speedway calendars. There's two different shows. We won't talk about that right now. There's power boating and blah, 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 blah. There's a million things to look up.
Sure.
We will miss something, guaranteed.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to realise that we're not just about promoting the events, it's actually about promoting and telling some of the stories of some of the drivers competing in these events as well. And so, if you've got a really good story...
Speaking of good stories...
Yeah?
We've got a really good story.
Story time.
It's story time.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's have a look at this story.
All right.
Formula V, that's VEE, is an open-wheeler, rear-wheel drive with a rear-mounted Volkswagen engine. Variants of Formula V exist in Australia, Brazil, Canada, the UK, Ireland, South Africa, New Zealand, and the US. Originally, Formula Vs were based on the 1200cc Volkswagen engine and gearbox. After 2004, the Australian Formula V series shifted to the 1600cc engine. Modifications allowed in this class are minimal, so there's greater emphasis on team skill rather than budget. Settings like wheel alignment, droop, balance, and brake bias are the only changes teams can get to make to get an edge on the competition. The cost of a new Formula V with the 1600 engine will set you back about $55,000, but you can pay about $20,000 for a competitive second-hand car. 1200cc cars can range between $5,000 and $10,000. Running costs are kept as low as possible to encourage bigger numbers of entries. With top speeds in excess of 190 kilometres an hour and pulling 1.5 Gs into the corners, the category is no slouch. The lack of aerodynamic wings and ground effect and similar performance of the cars forces the drivers to learn racecraft and use tactics to win. With big fields comes big excitement. Formula V produces some of the most highly competitive racing in Australian motorsport.
During the week, you had a conversation with Brock Hamilton.
Yeah.
Let's go have a look at it.
Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us what you do.
I am a Formula V driver who started in Grassroots motorsport at Boysdale, but currently looking to make my progression through the ranks of motorsport.
So, Brock, tell us how you got into motorsport.
I started at Boysdale at the Maffra Hill Climb track, and I started in a motorcana, which is activity where you're driving around cones at low speed but throwing the car around sideways and just having a lot of fun and flicking up a lot of dust. So that's where I made my start and moved on into karting afterwards.
You were in the junior development program thing at Maffra Kart. Tell us what that was.
Yeah, so I'm a part of the junior development program at Maffra Car Club, and it's sort of a program that brings people off the street and teaches them basic car control to hopefully create safer drivers out on the road. And it's where I found a lot of inspiration for some of the ways I drive and that sort of stuff. It's where a lot of my skill and technique originated from that sort of thing, and I've continued on with it, and I am now helping the younger drivers through that as well.
Was that dirt or bitumen or?
It's all on dirt and gravel, and there is a little bit of a tarmac aspect as well.
What's the comparison between go-karts and Formula V?
Honestly, not a lot. The cars are very similar. The Formula V reacts much the same as what a go-kart does. When you turn in, it turns in. It's not like a car where you've got a lot of body roll. It sits down and it just drives where you want it to go. So overall, they're very similar cars, but they're also the power difference was a big thing, and going from single speed to having a shifter was also another thing too. So learning all of that sort of stuff. So overall, it's fairly similar, and it's why a lot of drivers do go from karting to open wheelers, because they are sort of very similar aspect cars. They react very similar, but there is so many differences between them as well. The tyres are a big thing. You go from go-karting on slicks to you jump in a Formula V and you're racing on grooved tyres. So grip levels are severely diminished, and so there's a lot more slide in the cars. And obviously shifters are a big thing. We went from one gear to now I've got 4, and so learning all of that was a big thing. But also just the speed difference as well. You go from doing just over 100 k's an hour to now I'm doing closer to 200 k's an hour, and learning all of that was sort of the biggest challenge between them, was just understanding the speed, because at that speed everything comes up to you a lot faster and mistakes happen a lot quicker.
That and being in a crowd.
Yeah, the crowds are a lot different. Like when you're talking about on track with the rest of your drivers, in go-karting it's a lot of wheel-to-wheel action where you are sometimes even climbing over the top of another driver. But in Vs, one wrong move, even just touching the side of another person's wheel, can send you into a spin down the track. So learning to fight really hard, be really close, but also giving enough racing room is a very difficult thing that a lot of young drivers don't manage to get right out the gate, because it is a difficult task, especially when you go in a road car. It doesn't really matter if you tap panels, but out in an open wheeler, you touch wheels and your race is over. We don't have very good vision. It's pretty much as far as your eyes can see, and about, some people have as wide as their helmet visor, and then you've got 2 little mirrors, and that's all you've got. You have some of the biggest blind spots you could ever have, ever imagine. That is what you've got in these cars. And it comes down to having a sixth sense, knowing where those cars are going, what they're doing, and predicting their moves is a big thing, because you can't see them. You've got to go for a move and make it stick, because if you don't get right up beside them, they're not going to know you're there and they'll turn in on you. So you've really got to force the issue and make it known that you're there. Otherwise, you'll end up being driven into.
Okay, mate, I'm sorry I'm going to have to ask you this one, but what does Winton look like upside down?
Dude.
Really?
Come on, tell me you don't want to know.
It's very exciting. The sky is very beautiful from down there.
17-year-olds.
Have you seen the footage, Stumpy?
No, not as yet. I have not seen it.
Check this out.
Holy Oh. And the crazy little bastard came back from that.
Yeah, that's some serious shit.
17-year-olds, they just bounce.
I feel kind of bad asking now.
Smooth.
So even though we've talked about your probably least proudest moment going upside down at Winton,
Sorry.
Good on you, mate. What is your proudest moment racing?
My proudest moment was actually after the accident at Winton, was on the Sunday, getting back in the car and driving just as fast as everybody else after just having one of the biggest accidents of my life, and being just as fast, if not faster, than anybody else on track, and being able to compete at that level was very exciting for me, to be able to see that I still had it after being fairly shaken up on the Saturday, to be able to go back out on the Sunday and piece it all together and go from starting at the back of the grid to being back inside the top 10 with ease. That was what set it apart.
So, Brock, who's your inspiration when it comes to driving, even though you're still 16?
17.
17.
My bad, newbie.
It's a bit different. I model mine based on my grandfather. He used to race in rally more so, and raced a lot with Peter Brock back in the day. And sadly, I didn't get to meet him, but I've heard a lot of stories, and my driving style is a lot the same as what his was, and my grandfather also talked about how alike myself and Peter Brock are in our drivings. It's the way we drive on track and sort of phase everything out is unlike anything he's ever seen from a young driver as well.
So I got to ask, Brock, what is that thing sitting behind you? I know that rear wing is not a Formula V.
I have a Mygale Formula 3 car for the Australian Formula Open Championship.
So how the hell do you actually get into something like that?
It seems quite large, but ultimately they are very similar in how you drive them. They're both open wheel categories. They both have the same characteristics, but the biggest difference is the amount of confidence you need to have in yourself and in the car. Move to a Formula 3. But for me, it was actually my team that influenced me into getting the car so that I could move on to the next part of my career. And there was a big push for it, and I'm very glad that it happened because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Not everybody gets the opportunity to have a Formula 3 car, and I am very proud to have it and to have it at home and be able to drive it when I feel like it too. That's the big part.
Do you have any sponsors that you want to shout out?
Yeah, so obviously the biggest supporters and biggest people that have helped me move forward in my career currently have been my mum and dad and my dad's business, BJ Plumbing and Home Maintenance. They're the ones that really helped this start and gave it the push that I needed to really get into it. My grandparents have been a big influence as well. And I've had sponsors supporting me like True Join Constructions, based out of Churchill. Tally's Hair and Now have Blooming From Within, Le Mans Driver Academy and Le Mans Entertainment. They have been a massively influential part of my career. They are the ones that actually got me into go-karting, and my mentor through there actually got me into my first seat in open wheelers, and that's Nick Flodstrom. He's been huge. He now runs Melbourne Karting Centre, so he's very, very well known across the karting scene, so he's somebody to definitely go and have a chat with. I've had Firestone Technologies. They're a big help. So many people along the way. Like my family have been the biggest part, I think, out of everybody. They're the ones that really have made this happen, and without them I wouldn't be where I'm at the moment. Silver Fox Racing for giving me the car, for the giving me such a great car in Formula V. That's incredible. Wouldn't be where I am without them either. And to like KCK Lubricants, definitely keeping this thing looking sharp. And yeah, Matt Gilmore Racing and everybody else in between, they're always helping me out.
Anybody else?
Don Ho, Phonam, Doc 19, Barmy Bakery, and Vietnamese, as well as a new shop that's just opened up in Traralgon, the frozen yogurt. They're one of my current newest supporters.
Excellent.
So yeah, they're great. I'd definitely have a look into them because they make some great yogurt.
You recommend?
Oh, definitely.
We were talking about it earlier, but what are your thoughts and ideas on getting younger people involved in motorsport? I
actually think it's not, and the initial part when it comes to grassroots motorsport, it's not the cost. It's not spoken enough about, and when it is spoken about, it's an unachievable dream, and it's seen as something that can be nothing more than a hobby that you shouldn't pursue because it's never going to go anywhere. And that's where I think a lot of people are wrong, because motorsport isn't just about making a career out of it. It's something where you can have a hobby, build some really good friendships, and actually have more fun than most people would ever imagine. Like, just racing in general is some of the most exhilarating things you're ever going to do. And even if you're not as quick as somebody else, it can still be just as fun. And that's where I think people need to know the truth about motorsport. It's not just about cost. It's about the friendships and the excitement that you can get out of it. And I would like that we see more young people in there, because it's a dying sport at the moment, and the only people that are making it to the top are the ones that have the money. But ultimately, it also stems from the fact that there are next to no young people in grassroots motorsport either.
So, Brock, your ultimate goal, where do you want to end up in this sport, mate?
Start my own race team with everything from the lowest level grassroots motorsport all the way up to racing Formula 2 or Indy Next or even IndyCar, like anything in between, creating a career pathway for young drivers to go from low level to elite level motorsport. But I also want to do it with a bit of a twist. I would like to use my sponsors to fund those drivers so they don't pay a cent out of pocket. As we all know, motorsport's very expensive, and it shows with the amount of lost talent that we have. And I believe there's so many drivers that have missed their chance, and I want to make those drivers the ones that are known and give them an opportunity to race in Formula 2 for nothing. That's my goal, is I want to give them an opportunity to race at the highest levels of motorsport at no cost to them and showcase what real talent is, because a lot of it is lost because so many people just throw all the money they've got at motorsport.
All right, Brock, thank you so much for joining us. Mate, you are one of the most resilient young blokes I've met for a very long time. The fact that you are thinking forwards, and not just of yourself, there's so many young blokes out there who are just focus, forward, and not thinking about anybody around them.
Yep.
This kid always thinks about his team, he's thinking about other people in the sport, and he truly wants to grow the sport for the better, which is amazing.
Yep.
So
Well
thank
done.
you very much for joining us, and yeah, we'll see you out on the track.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
All right, I think we're done. I think we can finish up for the day.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for our first show.
Yeah, thanks for putting up with this shit.
Yeah, it's going to get better.
We promise it'll get better.
We'll have to get better.
It's been waffle.
No.
No.
Talkie is part of our show, but no, certainly we're definitely going to be working on improving the show. So give us some feedback.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Right. Tell us how crap we are.
Yeah, hear that on a regular
We'll probably ignore it.
basis. You will. I'll listen. Yeah, and then I'll make you do it anyway.
Yeah,
so
yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. I quit. So this is the beauty of actually working in a live garage. They're actually building cars over there right now. So
Race cars.
yeah, it's not all pretty. It's not a studio.
You know what they say? Race car backwards is still race car, but race car upside down is very expensive.
Like that one over there.
That one's upside down.
It is.
That yarn, man.
Yarn Mardenborough.
Do that again.
Say again.
Yarn Mardenborough. Mardenborough.
Marden.
Mardenborough. Just no.
See, this is Stumpy's strengths.
Yeah. It's yarn Mardenborough. Yeah, that guy who used to sim race. Mardenborough. Can I just point out, those two bulges in the top of your, are they for your testicles?
Gotta have bowls of steel to
Modest. I love it.
yeah.